Welcome to the complete leopard gecko care guide. I'm the reptile guy, stick around. The things I'm going to tell you is based off of my research and experience, so I highly suggest you still watch many videos and do tons of research for the sake of your leopard gecko. I am confident that what I have to share will be helpful for you. That said, there are many different ways to care for an animal, but I'm going to tell you how I care for them, that way you can make sure your leopard gecko is happy and healthy. We are going to start with the enclosure. It's widely accepted in the reptile community that an adult leopard gecko can stay in a 20-gallon tank its entire life. I personally use a reptile-specific 40-gallon tank for my leopard gecko and it works really well. Do I believe an enclosure can be too big? Not exactly. Let's say your leopard gecko is in a 10-gallon. I believe that is too small, but would I rather have it be in an 80-gallon? Probably. But you would need the correct stuff in the 80-gallon to fill it out to make your leopard gecko feel comfortable and not exposed. I'll get into hides later, but I suggest anywhere from a 20-gallon to a 40-gallon with the correct enrichment for them. Now we'll dig into what substrates are good. You can use reptile carpet. It's much easier to clean up after leopard geckos than it is bearded dragons, I can tell you that much. If it gets really dirty though, you can rinse it down or stick it in the washer or laundry. Some people also say that the fibers of the carpet will fall out and your leopard gecko would eat that. I've used reptile carpet before and I personally haven't had that experience with them, but I do believe it's possible, so just be aware of that. Again, as I said in previous videos, you just want to avoid sand. It's not worth it. Leopard geckos are more prone to looking at the sand just because of the way they naturally are. They walk around and lick. You can use paper towels and newspaper. It obviously doesn't look that nice, but it's the cheapest. Dry coconut fiber is another common substrate that I actually use. You can get this as Eco Earth from ZoomEd or other products that sell it. People sometimes worry that your animal will eat the loose strands like the coconut husk in the coconut fiber if your bag happens to come with any, but if I see any, I just pull it out. It's also proven that your leopard gecko can digest those strands. Am I being overprotective? Probably, but it's better safe than sorry. Next up, hiding places, and I suggest use 3 hides. Specifically, 1 hide in the hot side, 1 hide in the cool side, and 1 in the middle. You can make your own DIY hides, or you can just buy them at the pet store. You can do whatever you prefer. But having 3 or more hides is really the gold spot because your leopard gecko will have multiple places to hide, and they'll feel way less stressed and just more relaxed. Now, you also want a water bowl. It's pretty easy, and I don't need to stay on this topic for long. You'll want a bowl that is large enough for them to maybe soak in, but obviously not too big to where they just drown. Next, we're going to cover the temperature and humidity for your leopard gecko. I'm going to get down to the point and say you want the hot side to be 90 to 93, 4, 5 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're off by 1 degree, who cares? If you keep it around 90 degrees, you're all good. Humidity is pretty easy as well. You just want it to be around 50 to 60% humidity. They are more of a drier, humidity needing reptile, and it's pretty easy to maintain. Now, lighting / heat source. Leopard geckos are not a basking reptile, so I suggest you use an under tank heating because they really enjoy the warmth from their bellies. I use a low wattage ball just to add some extra heat to the enclosure, but the main source of the heat is from the under. I just stick a heat mat underneath the tank and we're all good. Also, be sure to monitor what temperature the heat pad's giving off so you can tell what temperature it is. And for the food, they're insectivores, so they will only eat insects. Dubia roaches, mealworms, and superworms are the obvious choices for your leopard gecko. You can have hornworms or waxworms every once in a while as a treat for a leopard gecko, but it's not good as a staple. So I suggest switching between dubias, mealworms, and superworms. Live, of course. Now for superworms, you'll want to wait for your leopard gecko to be an adult, so just wait for like 1 or 2 years, because superworms are kind of large, and you obviously don't want your baby leopard gecko choking on them. So like I said, after your leopard gecko is a couple years old, feeding them superworms should be perfectly fine. You'll want to dust their insects with calcium powder and multivitamin powder, the usual. And that's pretty much the video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I just realized I forgot to hold Hosey. Because in the script, I wrote down, "This is Hosey, I'm the reptile guy, and thanks for watching."